I guess kind of segues into the Steelers now, with
The
Mike Tomlin
Pittsburgh
and
Squealers.
Pittsburgh. This team is another one of those teams where I just feel like they are underappreciated and they're also underdogs in a way, especially with Big Ben getting hurt week 1. This team could easily do some damage,
Real
just
quick,
like they always
have
have.
did you see his face and all that? How he had?
Yes, I did.
Oh my, what
I
was that,
That's
dude?
exactly why I shaved. I didn't want to be like him.
You looking like
I
Big
I was
Ben?
looking like Big Ben. I'm like,
Jeez.
no, 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 that's not gonna happen. And let's be honest here. Big Ben changes this team. Mason
Oh yeah,
Rudolph was
100%.
definitely not the answer. And
Duck,
Doug
duck, the
Hodges,
duck.
Duck, definitely not the answer there either. I don't necessarily see Big Ben throwing for 5,000 yards. It
No,
is an
no, no.
elbow injury, and I don't know if it's on his throwing hand or not, throwing arm or not.
Not
But
sure.
either way, being out for a year can do different things, especially in year 19.
Yeah, something like that. See, my thing, this is kind of what I was wanting to talk about mainly was, so Big Ben is coming back. There was a lot of talk of him last year about like retiring and this, that, and the other, and he's like, I'm not going to retire off an injury. Like, he's like, I don't want to go out like that kind of thing. But my question is, like you were kind of saying, when you come back from like an elbow injury like that, even if it's on your non-throwing hand, any motion you do, like I had an MCL tear and I got like that surgically repaired. And even after that, it's never the same. Like it's never 100%. You're always going to be that little bit of fear to do something that you used to be able to do, just not even thinking about it.
Man,
So when Ben comes back, I'm kind of wondering, is it going to be like 100? Like obviously it's not going to be 100% because that's impossible. But when he throws, is he going to be like fluid with it, or is he going to be kind of favoring whatever arm that was? We didn't even find out what arm that was, but
yeah, I'll look it up right now.
we he just with that arm, if it's his throwing arm, is he going to follow through like he used to and kind of do all these other things? And one thing that kind of worries me about Ben, which is proven to not be a factor over the years when he's been playing, but he is the least mobile quarterback on the freaking planet.
Yeah,
Like,
he uses his sturdiness
yeah,
and a lot of his arm strength to stiff arm guys when he's being under pressure. And this happens to be his right elbow. This is his throwing arm.
oh,
So I don't know if he's going to be throwing. I definitely don't see another 4 or 5,000 yard season. They're going to need to rely on the run. They're going to need to rely on that good offensive line. They still retained a lot of their players.
see,
The,
which is why I'm kind of interested that they got Chase Claypool, the wide receiver out of Notre Dame, in the draft in the second round. So that kind of shows that they're going to try to focus a little more on getting Juju some help to where he can just go down the field and they can start spreading the ball a little bit
yeah,
because they do have some pretty decent tight ends. They got a lot of working pieces inside there, and obviously with Ben out, those pieces were kind of just pieces to a puzzle that were just laying around without the center of the puzzle, basically.
yeah.
And I think Ben does that for him. He just kind of brings the team together. Obviously, he's a veteran, he's a leader. But again, like we were saying, I don't know how that arm's going to work out with trying to spread the ball out at all, or if they're just going to keep running the ball and then every once in a while just quick routes, or what they're going to
Yeah,
try to do with
they
that.
back in the day when they still had Hines Ward,
Yeah.
this is what I feel like they're starting to move towards is more smash mouth football,
Yeah.
including in the passing game. They're not trying to burn you anymore, like with Antonio Brown. They're going to try to do slants, do ins, and try to, get the linebackers to get a little scared of these receivers. Chase Claypool is a pretty huge guy.
Yeah.
Juju is a pretty decent sized guy too. You got Eric Ebron. They've got the other tight end.
And my thing, even Juju, he's been in the league like a few years, but Juju's freaking young. Like all these guys are like young. So like if you can find, obviously Ben's not going to be here forever, but if you can find someone to be behind him, where we know Rudolph and freaking Duck are,
Definitely not the answer.
they're all right as quarterbacks, but they're not leaders. They're not like Mason Rudolph. We obviously saw when the whole Miles Garrett thing happened. A leader normally would just walk away from that and be like, "Look, I can't afford to be thrown out of this game, even though it was over already." He, a leader still looks at it and looks at the future and is like, "Oh, if I do this, I'll get thrown out this week, next week." because when you get thrown out of a game, you're thrown out for the rest of that game and the week after that. Usually, most leaders, like if that would have happened to Ben, Ben would have just got up. He would have been angry about it, but he wouldn't have started yelling and trying to fight anybody and all this, that, and the other, which kind of gets to like the offensive lineman. Like those guys, I don't know if you know this, but every offensive lineman thinks of the quarterback as their little brother, as like a guy that if he gets even touched, oh, it's like the end of the world. Like offensive line coaches will yell at you so long. Like you'll have to run laps on Monday. Let's be honest. If you mess up Monday, Tuesday, whatever. When they came to his defense, it was like, okay, yeah, that I could see that. But with Ben, they wouldn't have had to. Ben would have just got up and been mad, and he probably would have yelled at his offensive lineman a little bit for letting him get back there. But then he just would have went to the sideline or gotten, like, I don't even remember the actual play itself.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers the play. They just remember the
Mason
helmets
Rudolph, he threw a bit of a fit, and I don't think Big Ben, he would have probably thrown his hands up like, what the heck are you doing? But Mason Rudolph, he tried to fight him.
Yeah.
And he got burnt pretty bad.
He got beat up a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. And despite all of that offensive question marks, especially with Big Ben, the defense is monstrous. It's just terrifying outright. Even with the loss of Hargrave, they are legitimate Super Bowl contending defense. If they continue to develop Devin Bush.
Yeah,
I remember Devin Bush, the one the Bengals were going to get, but then got swept under by the Steelers.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That hurts.
That hurts. Devin Bush is pretty good, and he was really good last year, but he still had a lot of room to improve and grow. If he ends up being anything like Shazier, if he's anything like close to Shazier, this team is nasty. And again, this is a team that I don't want to face twice a year. This makes me scared for Joe Burrow's life, which we're going to talk about here.
You see, my thing, when you think of like legitimate championship defenses, in my opinion, like at least for, I feel like probably a casual fan of like football who just kind of watches and kind of understands a little bit. When you say the Steelers defense, the past 2 years, I wouldn't think of like, oh yeah, they're a real good defense, but like they're like kind of a sleeper. I think like a sleeper defense where
a lot of it is overshadowed by how poor they did on offense.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm telling you, they were holding teams under 17 points most of the season.
So if you had them on like a fantasy football type thing, you'd be pretty glad you have them, but they're not like lighting like stats up wise, but like they're getting stops, keeping teams to under points, and like it's just
they
crazy.
don't remind me of like the Buccaneers of 01 or or that's the Ravens of 01. The Buccaneers are 02 or 03 or something like that. I can't quite remember. There, but they don't strike me as like one of those teams, but they're just overall like they're not Saxonville. They're not known. They're not the Legion of Boom, but this defense is just really good, well-rounded. Most of those guys will make plays for you. They will get those stops for you.
Yeah, they got was that Minka Fitzpatrick?
Yeah.
That safety? Yeah, and he legitimately, if you watch his play, like he makes some real good plays. Like he's not an absolute freaking burner. Like he's not going to absolutely run from one side of the field and catch up to somebody in about 2 seconds. But he plays smart, so he knows where he needs to be, kind of where he needs to go on the field, and who he needs to help. Yeah. And I think that's an important thing with safety. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm a big guy, so I've never really played safety at all. But it's real important for your safety to know kind of where he needs help, like especially to know his guys, like his corners and things, who's gonna get like burnt easier. Not that they're always gonna get burnt, but the guys who aren't as fast, so they can't keep up with faster guys, and you got to know who's gonna need help over the middle, who needs like help over the side.
Safety in the NFL, they are the ones that position the nickels, the corners. They're saying you need to pick up this guy. Yep. I need to cover deep or whatever. And, he's definitely a great first-round pick because that's what they traded him for as a first-round pick. So we're going to just regard him as the first-round pick. Yep. It was a great pickup for them, and I think it was worth it. They might not have felt like that last year just because they went 8-8. But 8-8 last year, if they did that this year, would be the 7th round seed,
Playoff bound.
playoff bound.
Yes, sir.
And to be honest, if they ended up playing the 2nd seed, which was the Chiefs, we might not see the Chiefs in the Super
We
Bowl.
might not have seen
That's
them
how
in the Super
good this
Bowl this year.
defense is. It's literally that good. I don't know. They're just a team that is definitely going to be better this next season.
Mhm.
Just watch out for them. It's going to be lights out when they play the Ravens. I expect the same thing from the Browns because last season it was pretty much lights out, even though they weren't really playoff contending.
You
We'll
know,
see though.
not to backtrack too much, but real quick, I kind of wanted to the running backs that were taken in the AFC North, at least, because there was two or three, two, I think.
I know of one from the Ravens, JK.
J.K. Dobbins, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about, and then the Steelers got
The Memphis.
Anthony McFarland from Maryland.
Okay, yeah.
So especially with J.K. Dobbins, I was kind of surprised he went to them, and that he not really fell that low because it's not really like second round, like not really
You're not really
falling.
Yeah, for a
But
running back this day, yeah.
but I was kind of surprised that the running back out of Georgia went before him, and
Swift and
yeah.
Clyde's Edward-Helaire.
Yeah,
You know,
which was kind of surprising for me because I was like, obviously being in the Ohio area, more of a Ohio State fan, you see J.K. Dobbins, and the commentators that commentate over Ohio State games, it'd be J.K. all day, all the time, and that's all you would hear at Ohio State games. So it was kind of surprising because I did watch a little bit of the other guys, and I think J.K. Dobbins just has this little bit more of an it factor, like not necessarily that he's more athletic or more this, that, or the other. He just has this one it factor where it's kind of like with Le'Veon was, at least when he was playing for the Steelers, because we know with the Jets he's still good, but where's the rest of his team at, kind of thing. When he was with the Steelers, he had that offensive line where he could watch for a hole, like he had that pause. He could pause and then make a move right then. I think J.K. Dobbins is a little bit the same way with the it factor. Not necessarily that he can pause and go, but like he has a lot of, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just it. Like he can do.
got a lot of tendencies to make guys miss.
Yeah. He can do certain things where it's just like you wouldn't think you couldn't just pick a guy off the street that's pretty fast that could just do that. Like he has that like thought process that like he's a pretty smart guy to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Also to mention the other guy, the Maryland guy, Farland, was that his name? Yeah.
Yep.
He's a change of pace guy. So now that the Steelers officially have someone that can play third down back positional roles, with that change of pace, could really help out Big Ben being able to throw out into the flats. Sure, he's going to need that. He's not going to be able to really throw huge deep balls.
Yeah, I really think the running back combo that they're going to have out there in Pittsburgh is really going to help Big Ben just get back into the flow of stuff. I think when it gets later into the season, I think they're going to try to probably throw a little more than they were early in the season because they're trying to just get him used to throwing motions and everything again. But their running back coming out of the backfield and just running like even just angle routes over the middle, or even having like Juju just a slant over the middle kind of thing. I think they're going to try to do a lot of that kind of stuff, and then some hitches, some stop and go kind of things, trying to get the ball out a little bit quicker to
screens for sure.
Yeah, because obviously the Steelers' offensive line for years has been really good. Like has been a solid offensive line. Like they're not letting through 100 sacks a freaking year or anything crazy like that. So I think they're gonna do those quick stuff to get him his confidence back, and it's more of just his confidence in himself, to where he can like get rid of the ball, throw the ball, kind of thing. And they'll do their short routes, runs, and they can do, as you said, like change of pace kind of thing, run at a different way, come at things from a different perspective. But then once it starts to get later into the season, I think especially with picking up Chase Claypool, like you say he's a bigger guy, but I really think he could probably be that opposite side from Juju, where you have that 1-2 kind of thing, where if they want to focus all their attention on Juju, then you just go out to Chase Claypool and just get him the ball. And if they're like, oh, well, Claypool's killing us now, they switch to that and kind of focus. Because there's not a lot of teams in the league, and this goes for like any level of football you play. If you have two really, really good receivers, there's not a lot of teams that have two really good corners that are like lockdown corners. Like you'll have a Richard Sherman, but on the other side you'll have just a guy that plays pretty well and he can cover a two basically. And I think that's kind of how even their defense kind of operates. Like they have guys that are like locked down on one, and then you got the guy that can pretty much guard a two. But then you have those safeties like Minka out there who can like shut stuff down. I think that's where the Steelers are gonna like have their game most of the season. Is they're gonna go short, short, and then once it gets to like say week 7, week 8, week 9 kind of area, they're gonna start trying to get the ball down the field a little more because I think Ben's gonna have his confidence back by then. Hopefully, he completely shaves his beard off by then because that's just atrocious.
Ugh, disgusting. Yeah, I agree. I think probably by next season, first 2 or 3 games, it's gonna be quick passes, a lot of smash mouth. It's kind of a little bit of the reverse of what usually teams do. They usually pass a lot in the beginning of the season, and then they start grounding and pounding when winter starts changing. Or
Yeah, when the season starts changing
yeah.
and people are starting to get a little bit tired because it's later in the season. But I really think they're gonna kind of do that, but like have Juju run down the field because like your corners are gonna start getting wear and tear. Obviously, they're professionals, so they can get through it. But even the most in shape best guy you have by the end of the season isn't in mid season form. Like there's a reason they call it mid season form. You have that for like 4 or 5 games over the middle of the season. In the beginning of the season, you're not in shape. You're in shape, but you're not in football shape because there's a big difference. And then you get in midseason shape where you're like good and you're making things happen, and you're making things happen so much that you're getting hit, and that wears on your body. So by the end of the season, you're like, all right, I need to get back into just a shape to where I can be okay with not being hurt all the time. And then that's kind of why it was important to have the 1 and 2 have the bye week for the first two for the first playoff game for the wildcard weekend or whatever. Which is why I'm kind of concerned about the adding of another team. So you take away the two's bye week because the 1 and 2 team fight so hard to have 1 and 2 and like they play hard. They like obviously they're some of the best teams in the league.
Man.
So the 1 and 2 have that extra week off to recuperate their like tired muscles, whatever, bruises, fix all that up. And you can argue that kind of hurt the Ravens last year with that week off they had. It was kind of like they looked like they took the whole week off and just slept because I thought they could win no matter what in the playoffs. But I do think that week kind of gives teams a little bit of time to get prepared to be into the playoffs and playing at that mid-season level that they need to be come playoff time. Like that, be completely 100%, be able to go at everything, just everything all to the wall, just going kind of thing.